question was, what role does the county council play in job growth here in Middletown? The one big thing we have is the Main Street program, which you all have taken advantage of, and Main Street businesses that are encouraged to come here. So that funding is an important issue. Good schools are important because people want to locate in an area where there are good schools and you have people around and they want to come to Main Street businesses. So this is the two biggest things. Zoning is another issue. Zoning things outside, but inside the town, that's all yours. And there's not a whole lot of interface with the county on that type of thing. Once you have a thing zoned, once the town reaches out and says these are our borders, that they annex anything, that's theirs. And all we can do is try to encourage growth of businesses by putting housing growth in smarter places. Those are the biggest things we can do for a place like Middletown. What we want to encourage are good jobs, clean jobs, but mostly small business jobs in a place like this. This is not an area where you want an industrial park with a large footprint that's going to mess up the area. That's really not what I think this part of the valley wants or needs until maybe down toward Brunswick there's a possibility you could do something with an industrial park in that area. But for the most part, the Mid-Valley area is not something that the county should do, and I would work hard to make sure that businesses are small businesses in this area and not like large industrial parks and things.
Okay, next, District 1 area. And what steps would you take to either curb or facilitate growth?
My opinion on growth is this. Over the last 4 years, and really a little longer than that, housing growth in the county has been fairly slow. That's not because of what the county's done, that's because of the economy. The demand just hasn't been there for it. But what the county has done has, through the zoning that they have done and what they've allowed to happen, is there's a huge pipeline of potential houses. Over 20,000 of these that are sitting out there. So it's not, right now if you say, well, how much development's in the county, it's a fairly low number. It's in the hundreds and has been in the hundreds, and almost all of that has been in the municipalities. So the growth itself hasn't been strong. The problem is when the economy picks up, you've now created this huge pipeline where growth could take off if the demand is there for it. So it's a funny question about growth, you know, is it too slow, is it too fast, what's there? That's the situation. It's fairly slow right now. But the concern is either it could go very quickly with this pipeline of people. And you do need to have some housing pipeline. I don't want to go out and downplay, you know, hit hard on people. You know, it's easy to be tough on a developer right now. But you do have to have some houses in the pipeline if you're going to attract businesses to the area. Because they have to have some place to live. But what you have right now is a huge potential number of things that could explode. And then you have to put all the infrastructure in there for it. Now, in District 1, this hasn't been a high growth area. But your tax dollars still go down to District 2 to pay for the infrastructure that's going to go in Monrovia and places like that, because it's across the board taxing here. So while we might not see the growth in the area, you're going to feel it in your pocketbook.
Growth in District 1. We have farms here in District 1. And we need to protect our farmland. I don't want to see multi-housing and a lot of multi-family apartments and that kind of thing in District 1. I don't think that's appropriate. The president of the Maryland Farm Bureau lives right here in District 1. We really need to protect District 1. And I would vote against a lot of new housing.
Experience and understanding of government budgets and spending.
I guess that's for me again. As I said, my husband spent 20 years in Washington. So we have discussed an awful lot about government spending. And believe me, the government knows how to spend money. Just give them more money and they'll spend more money. But we've been trying to cut it in Washington. And you know, about the most difficult thing you can do in Washington is to cut spending. And the same thing happens here in Frederick County. Well, I understand that the 5 county commissioners that we've had in the past, the 4 years, when someone retires, they find that that job really, we can handle that job without that person. So they didn't really fire anyone, they just didn't replace a lot of people that retired. So therefore, the spending in Frederick County has gone down. But when I'm on the county council, I'll be having an opportunity to see the budget much more closely and to see where the spending is occurring, because that's what I really want to see. I like to see where the spending is going because I handle apartments and I am very, very tight-handed when it comes to financial spending.
Assume the county executive is a member of the political party opposite of yours. Describe how you, as a legislator, plan to work with the county executive to manage the issues that will arise during this first term in a county executive and county council form of government.
We have political parties that have had since the beginning of the Republic, and for good reason at the national level. There are serious philosophical differences. At the state level, there are philosophical differences, and we may disagree at the county level, but honestly, is there a partisan side to trash? Is there a partisan side to roads? Is there a partisan issue? I mean, we may disagree, but it doesn't have to be partisan. So I would try to work with anybody, whoever we have for the county executive. I would work with them.
Political parties, what an interesting thing. I was always voting for Beverly Byron, but I'm a Republican. Whoever the county executive will be in this new form of government we have, it won't make any difference based on what issues we have that come before us. We have to vote on the issues independently of who the county executive is. I remember you used to have to get a permit to install a dishwasher. Well, this last group of 5 men, fortunately for them, they did away with that requirement for a permit to install a dishwasher. And there were a lot of permits required for a lot of silly things that we really should not have to get a permit to do that. But I will be able to work with whoever the county executive is, and I will stand my ground. I want you to know, as a woman and a voice for the women on the county council, I will be able to see things that maybe the men won't be able to see because we have special abilities.
If so, what services would you envision being cut to make up for the loss of revenue?
I don't think that we really need to do a lot of cuts in services. There's still a lot of duplication. I talked to you about the permits we had to get. But there's still a lot of duplication, and I need to find out where it is, and a lot of inefficiencies in this county. I know there is, and I'm good at finding things like that, as most of our homemakers are. We're good at finding issues like that, and I will be looking for them. I don't want to raise any taxes, but I'll tell you, we don't need any cut in services. We need the services here in Frederick County. I don't want Frederick County to be like Montgomery County. Oh, please, no.
Am I in favor of cutting taxes? If so, what services would I envision cutting? That's the question. We have had some tax cuts, but the easiest thing to do in politics, I've found, is be against building anything, be in favor of tax cut, and be in favor of services, and just it's somehow magically going to get paid for. To be realistic, the way the situation is right now in Frederick County, the taxes we pay for the services we need, and we have to have a balanced budget. If we were to cut taxes right now, the services we would cut, we would have problems filling in the potholes, we would have problems paying for the school system. And if you have bad roads and bad schools, you don't attract businesses, your housing value goes down. So I think a cut in taxes at this moment would actually hurt our wealth and hurt the county economy. So I'm not really in favor of it this time. We've kind of cut to the bone on these things. I know it's easy to say, well, we ought to do that, but I'm against it. I don't want to cut taxes so that we have to build cheap schools again. I lived through that in the 70s. And I don't want to see us building schools. You know, we built some pretty cheap schools that are 50-year mistakes. They are 50-year, 60-year mistakes. Where I teach, between my room and the next room, is a curtain. You can call it an accordion wall, but it's a curtain. Okay? And generations of kids see stuff like that. Those are mistakes that hurt us overall. So I really don't want to cut back to the bone where we have to build things like that again.